thing that you could do to all of these that would rapidly increase the scores across the board is to integrate transport better. So the map, so, buses, trams eventually, and trains, you have to do all these things, remember. Visibility, simplicity, integration across modes, affordability, safety, ownership is how you get integrated transport. They've got these nice bus maps everywhere that sort of show these sort of routes, these corridors, but they don't show the railways, so it's just bus. And it's like, you need to integrate the trains. There are plenty of services that are basically West Yorkshire only that should be branded as West Yorkshire and should be branded as Weaver Network and integrated into the operation of the wider system. That's absolutely critical. So you've got all these nice lines, sort of market, kind of brandings, which I think are nice. Occasionally you get these really nice sort of digital displays with the branding as well, which is really smart. I like that. It's why the score across the board is not very poor. It's poor because there's so much more to integration than just doing this stuff. This is great, but it's a first step. The railway stations still have the stupid metro branding. They need to have, I look forward to the Weaver Network branding being rolled out across, but all these stations need to have that branding. They should have no rail alphabet anywhere near them. They should be using Fruitager or whatever the official typeface is of the Weaver Network. It should be integrated into the identity of the West Yorkshire transport system. Also the Northern pay-as-you-go thing, which makes it more like tap and go, which adds complexity. I would say those of you who use this regularly will understand it. I do not, because I don't use it regularly. For me, it's like, well, is this Northern? Is this where it... Northern are doing some great stuff, and I want to get Alex Hornby on to talk about their mode share drive. But again, this, in terms of an urban versus a Northern, versus the West Yorkshire, it's messy. And there are occasional, I saw the Virgin bikes as well, not Virgin, the LNER bikes. There are occasional bits of cycling infrastructure integrated with stations. But bus stations and railway stations, no better example of this than the long 10-plus minute walk from the bus station in the centre of Leeds to the railway station. Not integrated. The next thing that you would get your scores up that would admittedly require quite a bit of additional infrastructure is better orbitals. And yes, build, but also potentially just run orbital buses to get those scores up. Like, that's definitely something that could be improved, is getting orbital buses running around Leeds. That would really help improve the ProCiv scores and kind of across the board reasonably straightforwardly, potentially with the long-term fixed infrastructure, but buses in the medium term. Of course, across the board, having really poor regional and national connectivity scores is build HS2 as planned, or rather not as planned. Build it as we've said in episode 222. Go back to that. That would massively jump up the scores. And then Transpennine route upgrade is great, but it's only bringing the railway up to the level it needs to be to nominally provide additional regional long distance and suburban services. It's like bringing things up to where they needed to be 20, 30 years ago, not fit for the future. And I'm afraid capacity is going to be instantly used up because the demand is going to be filled immediately. It's just going to be like West Coast route modernisation again. Northern Bypass Rail is still a twinkle in nobody's eye. And then, of course, lastly, speed this up. Whether there's prioritisation or whatever happens, but it needs to be it needs to be sped up, not slowed down. DFT and HMT, get out the way, right? Fundamentally, Leeds is a massive city. It's an enormous city. It's a city built on mining, on industry, on finance, on exploitation of workers domestically and abroad. But ultimately, the urban core is surrounded by a huge hinterland, and a large hinterland requires one thing above all else, and that is a way to get into the core and to everywhere else. Leeds is probably the main example, the most egregious example of a city in the UK where that is just not achieved to the level it needs to be. More than any other, more than Manchester, more than Birmingham, Leeds is a city that shows how not to do things. I'm stood here with the city behind me, but also with the motorway behind me as well, because Leeds is sliced up, entered left, and carved in its core by motorways. And, well, you can see from a violence perspective what that does to people's ability to move around.